started recording. So we have this acronym called INVEST. INVEST means independent, negotiable, valuable, estimatable, small, and testable. Okay, so this is actually important when we look at a backlog or a user story, or if you want to call a user requirement, right? So before we start doing the coding, before we start put it into something that is real, so we need to actually consider the acronym called INVEST. Okay, now if we're going to do a feature like I think the last video has been talking about this mobile app, for example, right? Doing a bank transfer. So the question is this feature independent in itself? Right? So if you say yes, John, this is only just one of the many functions of our mobile apps, and we want to actually make this happen. And it's actually a very self-contained module or function itself. So it's actually very independent. That's what we are talking about here. Right? Next, negotiable, right? So when we say negotiable means we need to have discussion with the product owner to say that how does this work? Is this the next feature that we all agree as a team that we're going to release this? Let's discuss, let's negotiate. If it takes 2 sprints, for example, and our sprint is defined as 2 weeks, that means altogether 4 weeks to deliver this. Is this agreeable in terms of the roadmap, in terms of the time for us to release to production? So that negotiation or the negotiable has to be happening, right? Next, we look at valuable. How valuable is this to our stakeholder? What if we don't have this feature? Would that be an issue? Okay, if it is an issue that we must have, okay, then we will do this one first. Okay, now for the team, which is the programmer and the operation team, which is working as a DevOps, as a development team, we must have an estimate for this piece of work, for this feature, how much time it needs for us to get it ready. Like I said, looking at the sprint, looking at the capability of the team, looking at the capacity of the team to say that is this something that we can estimate to be able to complete within that one defined block of time, the sprint itself, or we need 2 or 3. Okay, so we actually have to discuss among ourselves to go back to the product owner and say, this is what we estimate the work will require us to do. Okay, again, the next one, it says that it has to be small enough in the sense that it has to fit into the sprint where possible. Try not to go over the sprint as in 2 or 3, because it's going to be very confusing and also difficult to track in that sense, and it will be not frequent enough to do the release. So if it's possible to break down again the user story or the user requirement or the backlog itself, please break it down into smaller chunks where possible. Okay, now the last part here on the acronym called testable, we must have a clear acceptance criteria to say that what are we testing? What is the definition of done? If we finish doing this, how does what does it mean? How can we test it? How can we ensure that this feature actually works? Is this what we wanted to do in the first place? Transfer money. Okay, so how do we test that? Okay, do we have a test account? Do we have a test environment? Let's do some sample test case. We do a load testing of sort. Make sure it meets the requirement of performance itself as well. Okay, so invest, again, like I said, is just an acronym. So if we actually are doing the development work, this would be recommended as an area or as a way of asking, of validating our understanding as well. Okay, so this is just an acronym as a way of doing that. Next, heat map. Okay, so these are the heat map that involves in the service value chain for this specific testing itself. Then, definition of done, there is a table in that as well. Okay, cool. Version control. Do you guys apply version control in the things that you do? Yes. Where do you apply version control? Can you give me an example?
The SOP,
Yes, your SOP, your documents. Mana lagi that we can apply version control?
the source code,
Source code. Yes, very good. Okay, source code. Anything else? Basically, anything that actually change, you should apply a version control. That means that you're going to rework it. You should have a version control. Okay. Now, what's important about version control? How does it help you? Anybody know?
if something happened with the current version, we can look the version
Yep.
before.
Yeah. So you have two versions. Let's say the current version and the version before that, the n-1. You can do a comparison. Okay. So if you say, John, actually, we just changed this graphics. Okay. So what went wrong? Oh, it's probably this graphic is causing an error, or and the loop, it's not loading the page properly. So you can actually compare previous version and the current version. So it's actually good to have a version control so that you can actually do some comparison so you don't lose track of the changes. This is actually very, very key, especially in a large enterprise. Things are moving, especially when we have governance body like the Central Bank of Indonesia or even Malaysia. They do issue us certain requirement to say, John, you need to comply. John, you need to make sure this is in place. Okay, so we actually need that version control so we can actually compare as well. And same thing, if we're doing continuous improvement, we also want to know, hey, when did we start off changing this process? I remember last time or last year, we actually had to do 15 steps. Now, after Park Irfan has actually done it, now we're doing 6. Wow, so fast. So what are the things that we cut out? So maybe something too good to review back. Okay, cool. Right, next slide talks about the benefits of version control. Okay, so it also says here, the automated testing can be done as well. If you have a version control, you can actually look at what has been tested or which part of it that actually worked. Why did the current version fail the testing? Okay, so that's also another way to look at it if you're doing testing as well, apart from the example that we spoke about. Okay, then we have the heat map. Again, those are the service value chain items that are impacted. Then we have the table. Okay. Next, AI Ops. Exam slide. Please write down the definition. 2, 3, 4. The application of machine learning and big data to IT operation to receive continuous insight with previous very long. It's basically tracking the application itself. AI Ops stands for Application Intelligence Operation. I repeat, AI Ops stands for Application Intelligence Operation. What that does is very simple. Like I said, let me give an example. Typically, we actually monitor the infrastructure only. Why? Because we want to make sure the infrastructure is actually ready. That's the most fundamental one. The one that I've used is a product called SolarWind. You guys can download it. It's actually available for testing trial for free as well. I think 90 days. It's quite a robust product. What it measures, they look at the basic stuff. Yeah. So if you have a server farm or a storage or a network of sort, you will measure the basic metrics of it. So when I say basic, there will be things like your CPU, your memory, your hard disk, whether the services is up and running or not, or whether the server is still alive by doing a ping test or a trace route. You can actually monitor that and set up triggers, alert to inform you when something goes wrong. So you don't have to look at it every day. Okay, so that's one way. Now, that is actually the infrastructure layer, which is the fundamental basic layer. One layer up from the infrastructure, the hardware, is actually the application itself. So when you apply AI Ops, you are tracking the performance of your application end to end. What that means is from your stakeholder, from your user, if they are using a handphone, for example, or a tablet or a computer of sort, you moment they double click, they switch on the application, they launch it, it will start to track the performance. So you can actually see where your user are using that. Where is the bottleneck? Okay, so the one that I've actually seen and used is actually called Dynatrace. Quite an interesting and powerful tool. We can actually tell us this user is from which location, how does it go through the internet, how does it actually come into our cloud portion or even the on-prem server, how is it accessing? And with that, it actually gives you performance matrix. Okay, now a lot of time if you don't do AI ops, you can't measure the performance of the application. Now, a lot of people may say, hey, John, actually, I don't have to do that. It's launching, right? Yeah. But again, if you are concerned about customer experience, AI ops definitely will help. Let me explain. Have you guys used an application on your mobile and you double click on it and you go pushing, that launch? So what happened when that happened? You switch it off, right? You change and do something else, right? So how long does it take pushing when you switch it off? Normally it's less than what? A minute?
1 minute.
Maybe 30 seconds. If you're very impatient, you want things done very fast.
Yeah.
Right? So between 30 seconds and a minute, right? Guess what? We've just lost a customer. So imagine, right? If you're saying that, hey, BCA wants to launch this mobile banking app, and if you don't have an AI ops in place, that's very dangerous. Because why? When the customer launch it, hey, apa ni? Nak check balance pun pusing-pusing, nak keluar lagi. 2 minit ni. Bagus aku call, lagi cepat. Right? Why am I using this app? You understand what I'm saying? Now, that pusing could be a issue in the infrastructure, not on BCA side. It could be on the cloud. It could be on the internet. It could be the coding itself. Okay, and also it's a very good troubleshooting tool, especially for the programmers, if they have this access to this AI ops. So, do you guys have this in place? No? Yes? Seriously, ask your boss for some money. This would definitely help. Now, if you say, John, actually, we don't do mobile apps, we're only launching it within BCA, I would say still invest in this. Okay, because to be fair to our programmers, they are just writing the code as best they can. Now, they may not have sized the infrastructure. They may not have taken into consideration of the network issue, the cloud issue into consideration, to be fair to them. But when you have AI ops, all these things are presented to you to say, John, there is a bottleneck. John, that pushing do is caused by this, is caused by that. Or our coding is not efficient, for example. Or we didn't use a load balancer, for example. We only have one way to access the database, for example. Okay, so like I said, I've done a fair bit on this AI ops because I actually was part of the committee team to actually select the technology. We did the evaluation and we did the business case in my previous company for the bosses to say that, boss, seriously, we need some money because we already launched like 10 different mobile apps, right? Guess what? We don't even know how good it is. And people are complaining that it actually doesn't work. And then with this, we were able to say, okay, now we know where the problem is. Let's quickly fix it. Let's quickly work with the programmers. Let's quickly work with the cloud infrastructure team. Let's actually make it optimized. This is key. Like I said, if you are serious about going to the internet with your mobile apps or even with your internet apps. Okay, I cannot stress enough. Okay, cool. Right. So the definition, like I said, please make sure you take a moment, write it down. Okay. Next, heat map. Very simple. Improve. The whole idea is to deliver and support and improve. Okay, especially when you work from home. when the user or our own colleague, right, who work from like you guys now, right? They say, hey, John, I can't get to the SharePoint portal. I can't download the file. I can't upload my Word document. So where is the bottleneck? Where is the problem? Without AI ops, sometimes it's difficult to troubleshoot. Okay, you can't see it end to end. Okay, right. Next one. With AI ops, it's relevant. Okay, so first one off the list, capacity and performance management. So anybody who doing continuum management, you might want to talk to the boss. Boss, I need more budget. This is absolutely critical. Okay, cool. Chat ops. What is a chat ops? Anybody? Microsoft Teams is a chat ops. But if you have a customer-facing, internet-facing web portal, do you have a chatbot? That's the thing that will help you. Even your service desk internally, do you have a service desk chatbot? Because all this stuff will help to reduce your agent, will help to reduce some of the very frequently asked questions. Okay, omni-channel, whereby people come in through chat, coming through phone call, SMS, WhatsApp, different channel, multimedia, all those kind of things can be combined as well. Let's look at the definition. So you need a platform, okay, depending on your ecosystem. You have to have a chat platform. You have to have a bot. Now, the bot itself, you need to actually configure and write the script. When the customer or the stakeholder type a keyword, how do you respond? Okay. Some go as far as not just setting up the chatbot, they actually set up an avatar as well to represent the company. Okay, just to make it more interactive. Okay, or even a search function. How does the chatbot present the information to the customer? Say if I go to a BCA portal and I say I want to apply for a housing loan, so I type apply application for housing loan. So does the chatbot picks that up and present to say that, John, this is how the process works. Here's what you need to do to qualify. Here are how we can actually help you. Do you need me to transfer you to an agent to take up your case? So all this thing can be configured to pre-qualify your engagement with the stakeholder. Okay, the automation tool as well. Or even if there is no agent, you can even ask the customer, would you be okay for us to call you back later because our agent are fully occupied? Leave your mobile number, we will call you back, or leave your email address, we will send you the information. You see, all this automation can be done. You guys have it in BCA? Yes, no? Not yet? Something to look at if you haven't started? Yes, Pak Robi, ada kata?
Ada.
Ada?
Sudah ada
Many,
beberapa.
yes.
Ya.
Many, yeah. Oh, okay. So are you combining into one, or you're leaving it individually on the various function?
Individually, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
If it's individual, the next thing to look at is to perhaps to combine it, if it makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I said, it's not difficult to set up, but it's quite handy, and you can actually ask the chatbot to do more. Okay. Even for service desk, right? You can even ask the chatbot to handle things like service requests. Okay. Not just inquiries, frequently asked questions, all those kind of things. Right. Cool. There is the heat map. Okay. Engage, deliver, and support. These are the two key areas when we actually apply chatbot or chat ops in that sense. Okay. Right. The table. Okay. Service desk. That's why I said service desk will be the biggest user for this. Okay. Cool. SRE. Next slide. Please. Exam slide. Okay. So SRE, site reliability engineering, actually comes from software engineering applied in the physical sense. That's what it's all about, infrastructure. How to ensure the site is up as much as possible to support the business. Okay, so let's look at what do they do in SRE. Okay, so you can do it manual if it's repetitive, if it's automatable, if it's tactical, and if it's actually does not improve the service. These are what we call the current situation. If you have all this, you should consider SRE, because any of this thing that you see here in this slide that happens is considered a characteristic of TOEIC. So exam question, they may ask, do you recognize the list of situation or characteristics which are part of TOEIC? Please select all the relevant answer. So this will be it. That means that it's actually not working. Okay, so SRE looks into this to say that, oh, if there is a lot of hands-on that the administrator needs to do, maintenance, support, actually it is actually a TOEIC. So perhaps we need to apply site reliability engineering by automating, by writing scripts, by letting the machine take care of itself. Okay, so this concept TOEIC is just to explain a lot of time our environment have this kind of situation happen. So they are encouraging us to automate where possible. If you talk to Google I think about 7 years ago, I went for one of their cloud conference. They say, John, we have all of this, not just in Google, in all the companies out there. So they said, what are we suggesting is that when you come to Google Cloud Platform, GCP, we have automation tools. So I said, okay, so what automation? So they spent a lot of time explaining the automation tools. And they said, and then I asked a silly question. I said, so what's next? So at that time, a lot of people started doing DevOps. And then they said, yeah, we already passed that. So I said, okay, what are you guys doing? So we're doing DevSecOps already. I said, okay, that's good. That was 6 years ago. Then I said, okay, so what's after DevSecOps? They said, if we automate all this stuff, all these situations you see on the screen here, the slides, eventually we will have DevOps, DevSecOps, it will become no ops. I'm like, huh? No ops? What does that mean? They said, well, most of this stuff, right, automated already. We will focus on the key activities. These are operation stuff. There will be no ops. That means no human intervention required. Minimum where possible. Okay, so that's where the trending is. So if you have not started, start with DevOps or automation, DevSecOps. Eventually, you will reach the nirvana, they call it, no ops. Okay, won't tell your boss yet, slowly. If you say, tell your boss, John say, go no ops, oh, then we don't need you anymore. No. I need to do some other more value contribution tasks. No ops means all this mundane stuff, repetitive stuff, we can actually automate it. That is non-tactical, it doesn't bring value, but we still have to do it. It's all taken care of. Make sense? We still have to do, but like I said, the machine does it instead of we doing it. Okay, that's where the artificial intelligence, the machine learning, the scripting, the robotic process automation all come into place, yeah? Okay, so I just want to make sure you understand why they put this slide, because they say that most of the time we will have some of these characteristics in our operation is called TOEIC. That's the concept itself. Okay, so if you recognize them, you should look at, okay, how can I improve it? How can I be more efficient? Right? Heat map.
John,
Yes, Ibu.
what is the meaning of toil name?
Sorry, come again?
What is the meaning of toil name?
TOEIC means that is actually embodying or having the characteristic of being manual, repetitive, automatable, tactical, devoid of enduring value, and linear scaling. That's what TOEIC means. You have a combination or some of this. It's an English terms called toy.
English terms, yeah.
Yeah,
Because I rarely hear that name.
I know. It's a very England English. It's different from our Asian or Indonesian or Malaysian English. We call it toy. Yeah.
Okay.
So like I said, don't worry about the word toy. Just understand there's this concept called toy. Whenever you see things are manual, which I'm sure you have, right, in your current practice, right? Things that are repeatingly. I'll give you an example. You need to do monthly report. You do, right?
Yeah,
How long it takes you to do monthly report? 3 days? 1 week?
it depends.
It depends. But every month the same report, right?
Mhm.
I used to work for the previous company, one of my GM of operation. He has a operations report, 14 of them. Used to take 3 people, 3 weeks to prepare. So it's a toy situation. So I went in, I spoke to my boss then, the director for operation. I said, look, boss, 14 reports, right? Can we automate it? He's like, John, how you want to automate? I said, well, let's use some tools to help to extract, to summarize, to produce the report that you need to submit to management. So the tool that we selected was Microsoft Power BI. Okay, took us almost about 3 months to figure it out, to do the report. So previously it was 3 weeks, 3 person to produce the 14 reports. After that, it takes 1 person 3 days to produce the 14 report. Okay, so we actually did a lot of what we call scripting, automation in Power BI to extract the data. Actually, all the data was existing in SAP Finance, the ITSM, which is the service desk tool. We were using BMC then. We extracted it from a database. We collated it. It says the template is the same, just that every month the extraction took a lot of time. Okay, so that will be a toy situation whereby we improve on it. Does that make sense? Okay, it's
Yeah,
just an
okay.
English word.
John, so it might be the same like West in Kaizen, right?
Come again?
West in Kaizen,
Yes,
same like
absolutely
that,
the
right?
same. Yes. Okay, so I'm sure we all have those kind of scenario. So the question is, what do we do about it? Like my GM of ops, he was doing this for 5 years. And I said, boss, this is not efficient. When I found out it, I said, boss, can I work with the team to the 3 person, right? To figure out, of course, after that, we only need 1 person, right? So the other 2 person was like, hey, John, what do I do now? I said, well, remember, we are supposed to do other things for the operation team, like conducting training, doing makan-makan and all those stuff. I said, you haven't organized for so long, huh? Oh, yeah. Let's organize makan-makan, nasi lemak and everything. Or we organize a departmental trip. So I said, yeah, you have all these things you never do. You were focusing on report for boss. So they said, yeah, we should actually do some of this other stuff for the team. So it's just like waste in Kaizen as well. So you should be conscious of it. It's just a term to explain waste. Okay, but unfortunately, it is mandatory. In wajib, we have to produce the report anyway. So the question is, if we invest 2 or 3 months to automate it, moving forward, we will save X number of days. It's actually more efficient. Then we have more time to take care of our team and ourselves as well. So my GM didn't have to worry so much. He said now that it's taken care of, it was actually even published that he can access it on his mobile phone. Real time, updated. So he said, oh, I don't have to chase people. I said, boss, nobody is going to email you the report, the PDF file or the PowerPoint. Sendiri baca. Okay. So again, it's just changing the way we look at things. If you have certain situations that are similar to this kind of cases now, I encourage you to spend a bit of time, maybe start a mini project to look at how can I make it better? How can I automate it? Seriously. Because you've been doing it for so long, right? You probably didn't realize. Make sense? Okay, it's just a concept kind of thing. Good, Ibu? You okay with that, Krista?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, cool. Map. Where SRE is relevant, there is a whole list of stuff. Availability management, that's top of the list. Chang, chang, chang. Capacity and performance management, SRE. Please look into that. Right, next. How do we co-create value? You heard it before in ITIL 4 Foundation saying that, oh, John, we need to co-create. Apa dia to co-create? Tak faham pun. This is what I mean by co-create. Okay, so when we co-create something, it's not just we coming up with an idea. We need to validate that. We need to invite our stakeholders, which is the user, the service consumer, the service provider, maybe our partners, as well as vendors, and other relevant stakeholders to say that we are suggesting with this idea to produce this service. Would it be relevant to you? That's the co-creation, because you want to be inclusive. You want to gather all their feedback. Okay. Now, sometimes you might want to merge certain products or merge certain service to say that instead of 2 teams doing it, we will merge and become 1 team to do this. Be more efficient. Okay. So that's where the reorganization sometimes come in. Don't worry, people will be redesignated, reassigned to do some other stuff. So co-creation is actually quite handy and quite useful because you are trying to make sure whatever that we create, people want to use it. Okay, if you notice, right, there's a lot of application on the Google Play Store or the Apple so-called store, right? Do you download everything? Not really, right? You only download the things that you want to use, right? Unless even if you play games, you can't be downloading everything. You download only the things that you want. So when you co-create, right, you're actually trying to find the things that is relevant that people want. That's why co-creation is such a big topic in that sense. Understand why we need to co-create? Okay, everybody has got an idea, but whether the idea is relevant to the bigger community, that's where the co-creation value comes in. You need to validate that. Okay, right. I'm going to let you guys look at this. Next one, service experience. Anybody can give me an example of a service experience? Come on, this is easy. What will happen if I walk into a BCA branch today or this afternoon? What will be the first thing that I would encounter as a customer? Anybody can tell me? If I walk into your branch today, this afternoon, what's the first thing that will happen to me? Not sure?
Someone
Nope.
will give greetings to you.
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, that is very important. That's the service experience, right? Somebody must greet me at the door, right? Then what will be the next thing after they greet me?
Ask you, what do you want to do here?
Oh, actually, I want to withdraw 5 million rupiah in cash. Ibu,
Oh, okay.
So
I
what-
give you ticket and you can
okay,
go to
I go to this counter, right?
Yeah.
So that is the service
Kayak
experience.
orang cabang ya saya.
Bagus. Now, that is just a few steps, right? How can we make it better? Using the same example, how can we make it better, guys? Come on, let's think about it. So if I walk in again, how can I make it better?
You can
Maybe
Sorry, Eddie.
use the
you
robot
were-
to greet you.
Possible because robots are cheap, right? They don't need to take annual leave, right?
Yeah.
Possible, yeah, okay. So I could perhaps use a robot Or perhaps I can have a self-service kiosk, just like McDonald's, right? The self-service kiosk, I just select from the menu what I want. I press it in, they give me a number, they tell me where to go, right? That's also possible, right? What else can we do for that service experience?
You can get early QB number before you arrive to the location.
Bingo! I can pre-book and get a number that I'm in queue so that when I actually walk in, I don't have to wait so long. Fantastic. That's a good experience as well. Or what if you serve me with coffee and tea? But while you're waiting, sorry, there's another 3 more customers in front of you. Could I offer you a coffee? Or actually, I want a Milo ice.
You know, I-
And not sir, too much work.
Yeah, too much work. Maybe you can say, sir, you can actually press it from the vending machine, free, yeah.
And also the
Also can.
toast, yeah. Not only drink.
A toast would be nice. No, seriously. Service experience is about all of this. So whatever that we do now that you think that is normal, you need to look at how can we do it better. Okay? How can we do it better? Because if you don't improve it, your competitor next door will do it differently. Okay? Now, when you go back to work on Friday or on Monday, when your staff member come and see you at your cubicle, how do you improve that service experience? Boss, I want to see you. So how do you improve that service experience? Any idea?
Them to drink me a Milo.
Good idea, but fun. I like it. I normally do that as well. Okay. I said, come, let's go and grab a coffee. Have you had breakfast? No? Okay, we'll get you a nasi lemak. No, actually, on all that, I actually have what we call a bowl of sweets or chocolates on my table. I said, you want some chocolate? Sit down. Let's talk about it. You want a lollipop? Let's have one. Let's talk about it. So I'm different. So compared to the other managers' cubicle, they will say, hey, John, how come your cubicle always got lollipop and this chocolate, Kit Kat and all that stuff? Can I take one? I say, yeah, sure. Come. So you see my cubicle always filled with people. Service experience, right? Then my boss complained, hey, you guys got no work. I said, we're working now, boss. We are discussing. We're improving the service experience. So you can actually apply this, right? So don't just do the normal stuff. Look at how to delight the customer. Okay, maybe you go to your boss' room. You need to ask him, boss, how do you improve your service experience? Maybe he make you a cappuccino. I don't know. Just kidding. But anyway, something to think about. Right? So definition, very important. Slide 247. Please make sure you understand. Okay. Technical output, whatever the things that needs to be come out of the service, and how is perceived. The perceived one is the one that I want to emphasize by a human. Okay. So any experience that you go through, there is always ways to improve it. Okay. Heat map. The what we call ITIL management practices that are relevant. So business analysis, service catalog management, service design, even service tests. Oh, by the way, your service tests, do you have or do you allow people to walk into them? That means that people can actually go and visit the service desk? No?
Yeah.
Okay. You might want to consider. Okay, because service desk, sometimes when people call them, you email them, you don't know who they are. So if you guys are okay, some companies actually allow the service desk to interact with the user, but only on limited stuff. Maybe you open for VIP only, or maybe you open for managers and above only. Okay, so consider that that's actually a good thing to build a rapport with your stakeholder. Okay, if you don't want to use service desk, the other way that I can suggest is they call it the IT clinic desk kind of thing. You have a engineer, a field service engineer, and a service desk agent sitting together in one cubicle location where the customer can actually bring their device. They say, hey, John, I've got a problem with my laptop. Somehow when I open Google Chrome, this thing crashed. Can you help me to look at it? So the service desk agent will create the ticket on the spot, straight away ask the engineer next to him or her to say that, can you please help Pak John to look at this problem? That's actually a more intimate kind of or more VIP or premium kind of service. Okay, something to consider if you have not done this. A lot of the organization actually do this because they don't want to log a ticket. They don't want to wait for the next day or 2 days later for engineer to come and fix it. They want to fix it like now. That's potentially possible as well. Okay, just giving you ideas how others are doing it. Okay, cool. Next one, assured conformance. What is assured conformance? Anybody can help me out? Apa dia tu assured conformance? Assured conformance, in very simple English, you comply with governance. Okay, you comply with governance. You do not negotiate with governance. Wajib means wajib, kena ada means kena ada. It's there. Okay, so when the auditors come, they become your best friend. Why? Semua dia tanya, semua ada. John, do you have the evidence for this? Yes. Do you have this documented? Yes. Is it been approved? Yes. Everything is yes, 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 yes. And I can show it to you. Here. Okay. Again, this is very important, especially you guys are in the banking line, even in some other industry. I keep telling people this is absolutely critical because if you are not conforming to the governance, you get yourself in trouble, especially when you get into an audit situation. Why was this not done? Why is there no proper documentation? Who authorized this? Why was this done this way? Is this our standard SOP? Those kind of things. Who made the decision, right? Who was informed? Those kind of things. Okay. So I'm not going to read up all the rest of the documents or the details, the points there. You guys can just read up. But this is talking about compliance to governance. Okay. Cool. How do you do that? DevOps Audit Defense Toolkit. Ooh, that's a big word. DevOps itself, there is an Audit Defense Toolkit. DevSecOps, if you eventually do it, means that you actually have a way to assure what you develop, what you write as a program is actually secure. Now, the last part would be something that I will ask you guys to do. It's called peer review. Okay, what is peer review? Anybody have any idea? Not sure? Basically, it's very simple. So let's say I work in one department, Pak Irfan is another one. I've just done something. I go to Pak Irfan. I say, Pak Irfan, can you please help me to look at this? Is this okay from your point of view? So Pak Irfan is not maybe looking at. He said, "Hey John, I'm not from your department, but I'm looking at it from a compliance or continuing management, right?" He may say, "Hey John, ini macam tak betul. I think we miss out this part. Can you change or make it a little bit better?" So I will take that feedback and I actually do that. Same thing, Pak Irfan might come to me and say, "Hey John, can you help me? I'm actually doing a simulation plan for disaster recovery. Did we miss out anything for this specific area that we want to do disaster recovery?" Okay. Now, this is actually quite a powerful tool, but again, you need to trust each other, the feedback that's given to you, to actually look at it very, very openly. Safety culture, remember? Okay, so let's go into the details. What does it mean? Now, for this one, the DevOps Audits Toolkit is actually explained when you do DevOps, you take into the consideration of what are the audit requirements. Just like when you do programming, there is an audit requirement, because audit will say, John, you've just written this bank transfer feature, right? So where are the documentation that will satisfy a compliance? So basically, this toolkit talks about you have that mindset to actually look at from a audit perspective. You actually put it into the process as you do work. Okay, so that audit defense toolkit basically is just a mindset thing, the way I understand, the way I interpret, the way I actually apply it. Okay, so it's the same with DevSecOps. You apply security at the onset of design, not even coding yet, design, at the user requirement, at the backlog, at the breakdown of the task to say that where is the security element. But in this case, we're focusing on where is the audit element. What are the things the auditor will ask? John, where is your version control? You are now telling me we are using version 1.3, right? 1.2 kat mana? Mana you simpan dokumentasi tu? Code yang beza 1.2 dengan 1.3 tu mana? We need to have that mindset. Okay? When you apply the change, who approve it? Do we have a change advisory board approval? Do we have a documentation of that sort before we go to production? Okay, so this is basically just talking about having that audit mindset. If that's one thing you want to remember, DevOps also must have this in place. Any questions so far? No? Okay. Heat map. Okay. This is where we need to start have the conscious effort of whatever that we do has to be documented, has to be auditable, has to be traceable. Okay, cool. Where this will be relevant in the management practice for ITIL. Okay, so if you look at continuous improvement, that's actually a key one. Information security. So if you talk to your cybersecurity team or IT security team, that's something that will always be asking for audit. Monitoring and event management, if you look at the server logs, who have access to it, least privilege, zero trust. I'm sure you heard of those keywords, right? We talked about security guys, okay? Right. DevSecOps. So you see that infinite sign, that 8 being sideways. Okay, you start from plan, code, build, test, release, deploy, operate, monitor. So security, DevSecOps means the moment we start planning, the moment we receive the user requirement, we start asking, where do we put in security? Business say, John, I want to do a mobile app. Okay, so where do we put in the security? Oh, we start with the user login screen. Okay, we authenticate. Okay, so how do we authenticate? How do we know this user is our banking customer? How do we validate that? How do we give them the information that they request for over the internet that this is secure? Start from the planning stage. At every stage here we go, security elements is included. Okay, this can be very simple or can be very complicated. Again, it requires the development team, programmer and operation team have a knowledge and understanding what is BCA's security standard. I repeat again, the programmers and the operation team must have an understanding and working knowledge of BCA security standard. Okay, now they actually have to know this, they actually have to learn it from the security team. So I'll give you an example. Let's say if the bank say, John, we don't print out invoice or we don't send your so-called account details over the internet, for example. So when we do the coding, we actually have to know that, okay, this product, we are not allowed to do it. We can show you on the screen only, for example. Now, even with the screen, the question is, do we allow people to screenshot? You need to ask that the BCA security team. Boleh ke tak Pak kita buat screenshot? Can or cannot? Some banking apps that I have, that I own on my mobile phone, they don't allow me to screenshot. For simple reason, they don't want people to hack into my phone and actually get those banking accounts detail out from my phone. Because I did ask them, I said, hey, why cannot? I'm a customer, right? I want to screenshot. They said, no, John, sorry, we don't allow. This is our banking standard. Our security team do not allow this. Make sense? Okay. So a lot of time, the development team will be probably thinking, hey, I'm a programmer only, or I'm just an operation guy. So how do I learn this security stuff? You actually on the team need to have what we call a person that is familiar with it, or is part of the security team that can actually provide a bit of guidance. Or again, scanning tools, all those kind of things should be made available to your development team to make it easier. Okay, this is something that I've been talking about, I think, for the last 2 days to say that you need to invest in tools. Okay, any question? DevSecOps. Okay, include security in all the development, all the operation stuff that we do. Okay, don't worry if you guys haven't started. Just understand that everything we do somehow will have relationship or impact to the security. And security is everyone's responsibility, just like quality. Okay, cool. Right, next slide. Integration of duty. Ooh. Do you guys have this or you don't have this? That means if one person is doing multiple role, there must be check and balance to validate that. Because if not, it's going to create error. It's going to create a fraudulent situation. So typically, especially in you guys' environment, right, banking, right, they want to have a segregation of duty. Okay, the integration of duty, they don't normally recommend it unless there is system control in place. Unless there's system control in place. If not, split the duty, split the responsibility. Okay, so when you do that product, when you do that development of that service per se, please consider this as well, because sometimes you cannot have the same person who do the work also approve the work. That's not the right way. Okay. All right, cool. Segregation of duty. I think you guys know. Right, next one. Do you guys have a security policy? Yes. You have a security SOP as well? Yes. Please make sure you are aware of this. Please talk to the security team and also ask them for awareness, what they're driving, like phishing tests, what we call the malware. There's a lot of hacking, social engineering, all those things going on. You need to be familiar with that. What are the process and procedure? In one of the previous company I worked for, even the contractors need to declare their asset bringing into the company. So simple things like, okay, we have a vendor, right, bringing in their laptop into our environment. We have to set up a separate network segment for them. Their laptop has to be checked by us, or should I say the security team, before they can allow to connect to the Wi-Fi or the physical network cable with the segment that is given to them. And what access that we need to grant them, we also have to document. what is on their laptop, we also have to scan first. So very, very specific security policy that says that we have to protect our environment. Okay, so there's a whole list of stuff that's written there on the screen. I'm going to let you guys read that. Okay, like I said, hope you have friends in the security team. Do connect with them. Okay, it's important to know what has changed, how we're doing it, or even what do we need to be careful of or take precaution on. Okay, right. Next, heat map. These are the areas where security should be a high consideration and should be applied. So from design and transition, obtain and build, deliver and support, or even improve, DevSecOps can definitely be applied, or security can be applied. Again, here it is, the table. Continuing improvement, information security management, those are the two highlighted ones. Right, we spoke about this, peer review. Exam definition slide. What is peer review? Okay. Okay. Make sure someone checks your work as well. A fellow manager checks that if both of you are in the same functional area, that should always happen. If it's a different function area, you're looking at perhaps a different idea to improve what you are doing. Okay, that's the definition, 260. Here we are. Here are the types of review that we can do. You can do ad hoc review. You can pass them around in a room or in a so-called predefined format. You can have a desk check. That means you discuss together. Peer programming. Anybody heard of peer programming before? Ibu Henny, what is peer programming? Pernah buat ke tak?
I'm not sure, sir.
Peer programming means you have two programmers writing the code at the same time for the same feature, for the same function. It's peer programming. Because you see, when we write programs, right, I would have a specific style. You may have a different style. Now, when we do peer programming, it's not to look at the style, it's to make sure that when we write the program codes, it meets the first and foremost, the user requirement. That's the first thing. Second of all, when we look at the code, now I may write 20 lines of code to do one feature, one function. Ibu, you may write 5 lines of code. So the question is, why did you write 5 lines? Why did I write 20 lines? Both programs run the same way, or should I say produce the same output. Now, it seems that I may not be that efficient. So when you do peer programming, you look at, oh, why is Ibu Henny writing 5 lines of code and she can get it done? And I have to write 20 lines. Maybe I can learn something from her. Maybe I can learn some new techniques of programming. That's where peer programming comes into place. Make sense? Okay. If you have not tried it, you might want to give it a go. This is only for people who are matured enough to can accept, like I said, the difference. It's not to say that I'm a bad programmer or you are a good programmer. It's to say that how efficient are the codes being written that we can actually get the same things done. That's what the purpose of peer programming comes into place, because two of us, we are trying to learn from each other. Okay, it's probably not used a lot in our culture. We are like, okay, John, assigned to you, buatlah sendiri. Okay, but if you work with another manager or a fellow colleague, there's always a chance of, let's have a safety culture, let's be open, let's learn from each other. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Maybe
so give it a try.
I will try it with Mas Catur next.
But again, like I said, be specific. Let's say if you're writing for this specific function, like I said, to do a query on a database, right? So you would have your understanding and say, okay, John, normally I will write a select statement or I'll create a table, I will do this, and then I will get you the result. Then both of you can compare notes to say that, oh, why you do it this way when I do it that way? And then, but we still get the same result. which is a slightly the way. Then that's when you start the discussion to say that how can we improve. Okay, walkthrough. Anybody done walkthrough before? How do you do that? Irfan, how do we do walkthrough?
We have some checklists that we're going to do the walkthrough. Maybe before we set one room, and then all the participants, the PIC will be sit there, and we're doing the walkthrough, what we go into the implementation according to the checklist.
Spot on. Okay, team review, inspection. Now again, notice the one on the right hand side is the more formal process. The one on the left hand side, ad hoc review, is actually the least formal. Okay, so the least formal ad hoc review, maybe I happen to catch Pak Irfan at the cafeteria. I say, Pak, I need 15 minutes of your time. I've just written this. Can you help me to eyeball? Can you help me to check quickly? While he's sipping his coffee, or we discuss, we go through. That's a very ad hoc one. It's not formal. It's not in his cubicle or his office. We didn't book his time, just happened to bump to him. Pak, I need help. Okay, those team review inspection, those are very formal. Okay, again, make sure you document that as well, especially the more formal one. But I would recommend to do things like peer programming or even peer desk check. Desk check basically is the same thing. You just put it on the desk, you show, you say, hey, I'm doing this. Did I miss out anything? Is this okay? Can I make it better? Okay, it's just a desk exercise. Okay, so again, review means you learn from each other. Not to say, oh, I'm better than you, you are worse off than me. No, is to check, learn from each other. Okay, cool. Everybody understand this different types of review? Good. Okay, excellent. Next one. This is a table explaining the activities when we do review. So if you look at it, the inspection part, which is the first one on the table, you need to do proper planning, you need to do proper presentation, preparation, you need to do proper meeting, proper correction, and proper verification. Versus the last one, peer review. I just bumped into Pak Irfan just now at the cafeteria. He was enjoying his coffee. I order a cappuccino. We sit next to each other. We didn't plan it, but I still have to prepare because I need to have my work with me, right? Post meeting, possibly, it says there. Remember? Correction, yes. Do I need to do verification? No. Okay, so read through this table with the previous slide. Understand what are the activities that is recommended. Again, it's more of a theory slide. It's not a exam slide. As long as you understand what I'm talking about. Any questions so far? No? Yes? Okay, cool.
Excuse me. How about the
Yes.
review type pass around? How do we do that?
The review type pass around, that is similar to a peer desk review. That means that all of us sit into a meeting room. So you have the report ready, for example, you printed out a copy and then you say, guys, can you please spend 15 minutes to read it, give me a comment and review. So it's more of passing it around. Of course, you have to explain what you want them to do, what this is all about first. You have to provide the context. So it's like a less informal kind of thing, whereby you guys, like I said, just sitting around on a table, you just be discussing that. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Okay. So pass around, peer desk review, almost the same. It's just a different, I should say, terms to explain the activities in that sense. It's not that formal. It's very less formal. You're just passing your work out to say that, hey, can you help me to check? Can you have a look at it? Do you have any comments? This is what I'm trying to achieve, and all that. Okay, cool. Right. Tip map. Improve. Okay. Then we have the ITIL practices. Risk management, you see, is high on the risk. Software development and management, that's high on the list as well. Okay. Summary. Okay, so basically we have just finished module 4, which is the IT technique that we can use to try and drive and adopt high velocity IT. Okay, now the heat map actually maps back to the what we call the service value chain, where we need to apply those techniques. So for this course, right, when we talk about high velocity, they explain a lot of concept, they explain a lot of tools, they explain a lot of culture or behavior element, tying back to this heat map. Where is it relevant? Which ITIL principles needs to be applied? Okay, so I will encourage it later on after the break. When we come back and actually do revision, we actually go through this again. Okay, right, we've done with the module already. Any questions so far before we go for a break?
John, I
Yes, Pak Robi.
interest in peer review. In my team, change management has already applied or implement the peer review to the developers or for the infrastructure team.
Right.
But sometimes in the reality, it's only administration. We want that the peer can review the preparation or check for all by including the code review and blah blah blah. But sometimes I can hear that they only okay like that, not do the review. How
They are
to,
not serious, is it?
yeah, how to build the peer review culture.
Okay. Like I mentioned, when we do peer review, you have to explain the reason why we want to do peer review. Okay. Like I mentioned, when we do peer review is to learn from each other. Okay. If everybody thinks that it's just an administration thing so that we can go through the change advisory board and just rubber stamp to say approve and go, I would say that is actually wrong. Let me explain. When you have a peer review, say like you mentioned a change, right? I normally start with the engineer level. Okay. So of course, the engineers sometimes they don't like me very much. They say, John, you are the project manager. You present. You go and talk to the change advisory board. I said, no, I will do that at the end. We are doing peer review now. You need to present to us as a project team your portion of the work. Then of course, initially a lot of people get angry with me, right? John, why am I doing this? I said, well, I'm giving you a chance to practice, to learn how to do presentation to us as a team. It's an informal setting, but you still have to learn, right? Okay, so let's start with that. So they will say, okay, we do it. So the engineer will present, okay, John, for this change, I will do these steps. So as you go through the steps, I'm sure sometimes they miss 1 or 2 steps because I was an engineer before. So I will say, hey, did you miss out between step 3 and 4, right? There's one activity I think we need to do, right? Why is it not included here? So that's where the peer review starts. They say, John, why do you say I need to do this? Then I explain from my experience, or this is a security requirement or a business requirement. This step must be included between step 3 and step 4. So that's where the learning happens. So I explained to people, I said, look, first, I want you to present because you learn how to present. You learn how to talk to each other, right? Because it's your work. Very technical, right? Okay, you need to explain it so it's simple enough for everybody on the team understand. Second of all, when we give you that feedback, it's actually a learning for you as an individual and also for the rest of the team for improvement. So this objectives needs to be explained to the participant. Why are we doing this? Does that make sense? Okay. Now, once that happens, you need to actually ensure that you document to say that, hey, we did spend X number of hours. We did talk about these line items. Okay. So typically when I present to the change advisory board, it's always pass. You know why? Everything is in place. Even if I don't show up, right, my engineer represent me to present to the change advisory board, right? They already know what I want to say. When the system owner or other members of the advisory board ask question, right? Why you guys do it this way? My engineer can already answer those questions. You see where the learning is? So I don't necessarily have to be there, you know. They actually have participated, they have learned, they know how to present, they can actually also represent me as a project manager. So this is actually a very, very powerful tool if you encourage people to say that let's start learning from each other. The strength of the team is based on your weakest link. Remember that? If you have 1 or 2 person that don't know how to present, that means they don't know how to present. Give them an opportunity. Peer review is a good way. It's an informal way. Okay. It's also, I also explain to them, okay, here is my thought process, cara pemikiran dari minda saya, why I come to this conclusion, why I think in a certain way. Okay. Or even I ask the engineer, tell me your thought process. When we do peer review, why do you do it this way? Do you guys talk about thought process? Probably not. I will encourage you to share. Okay. I normally ask my team to say that, okay, explain to me what is your thought process, what is the context, what are we trying to achieve? Then they write on board. Then I will start to challenge them a little bit to say that, okay, is there any better way? Is there any other options? What if we can't do option A and option 2? What is the next alternative? Once they finish that, I say, okay, can I give you my suggestion, my thoughts, my feedback? Here is what I think. So that's where the learning happens, seriously. A lot of this happen peer review. Unless you call me, you tell me the other team members are not interested to learn, and then I think we have a problem. But seriously. But you must be open. Like I said, I'm usually open one, and I tell the team also, if I make a mistake, please point out, because I also need to improve. I'm not necessarily correct. And also, I also say one thing very, very outright. I do not have all the answers. I have some of the answers. I'm sure you have some of the answers. So when we do peer review, we will have a complete answer together. Make sense? Start small. Start small. Explain to them why are you suggesting peer review?
Yeah, we try to explain the why the peer review is important. The last question is who do the peer review? The senior or the boss?
It depends. It depends. It should be built into as a culture whereby the team would do it eventually themselves, with or without you. Okay. Sometimes I call it a QC checking, a QC validation as well. Okay. Like I said, initially my members will be like, Pak, sibuk lah, tak ada masa lah,
Yeah,
don't want to do
like that.
lah. But I actually booked their time in the calendar invite. I said, wajib mandatory meeting, and I put in there peer review. And I put in the topic, what are we reviewing? And then I'll sit there quietly. Okay, start. Observer, I said, boss, you observer? I said, yeah, I'm observer. Start, silakan. Of course, I explained the context lah, how to do and all that lah. Then I observer. I just sip my coffee at the back. Okay, start, silakan. Explain to me what you guys are doing. What are the learnings? So sometimes I initiate that because I don't see those things happening, and I know it's important for the team to learn from each other. I actually enforce that. Of course, I don't do it like 3 hours lah. That's too long lah. I do short session like half an hour. Very, very specific. So that they can't give me the excuse to say, John, I don't have time. It's half an hour only, ma. I'm not doing every day, ma. I'm doing it once a week, maybe, or twice a week. Fair, right, Pak? Because if you do it 3 hours, then you are a little bit crazy lah, overboard lah. I don't recommend. Everybody will hate me. Apa lah, we got tons of work to do and to pay review. But I tell them, I said, look, this is actually a very important tools to learn from each other. Because we all have a different style. And I said, eventually, if you understand my thought process, you understand the way I do things, you can actually come up with your own style. You will have your own style as well. I said, you gabung ke, you campur ke, you rojak ke. I said, I leave it to you. I still need the peer review happening because we are doing what we call QC check among each other. So I don't want, like I said, I go to Pak Irfan and Irfan say, hey John, silap pula ni, alah mistake lagi, aduh ini pun tak buat. Embarrassing, right? But if you have done peer review, oh, Pak Irfan is going to ask this. Let's fill in this one. Hey, I think this one, Irfan, remember told us last time that we missed out this one, right? I think we better include this.
So I want to ask, sir,
Yes, Ibu Hani.
which process is it better to peer review to be placed after the UAT maybe, or in the first before we build something in development?
There is no right time or wrong time to do peer review. You just have to do it. So it can be before you start, okay, to say that let's do a peer review. This is the user requirement. Let's check each other whether we understand the same thing or not on the user requirement. Or maybe after you've built it, the UAT, okay, let's do a peer review. What went wrong? What could we have done better? Why did this fail? Why did we have this result? What did we miss out? Okay. Now, even the change advisory board, the process, right? When we prepare for a change, right? We need to have a work plan. I normally get my partners to join that call. So initially my team was like, why do we need the partners? I said they are part of the contracting job, right? They're supposed to do a portion of it, right? So they need to understand our process, right? They say, oh, need to understand. Yeah, they're part of the team. They have to understand our process. I also need them to tell us what is their process. Apa dia tengah buat ni? Right? So we also have to know. So when I work with a lot of external vendors or partners, right? Like Telecom Malaysia or even some of the programming partners or the infrastructure partners, right? I said, please join my review meeting, peer review. They're like, huh? I say, yeah, I need to explain to you. You need to explain to me what is your process. What's your SLA? Do I need to isi borang? Do I need to request for permission? What is your timeline? I need to know all that. Because I need to learn, because if I'm going to request a relocation, say a fiber link, right? Telecom Malaysia, they say, John, tolong isi borang B, borang J, passport size photo 2, RM500. I still need to know that process, right? Even though my engineer is doing it. So I actually have to factor in. Does that make sense? It can happen at any stage, anytime, Ibu Hani. But I encourage you guys to have it so that people can understand what is happening, what are we doing, is there a better way to do this? Make sense?
Okay, that's sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So it's actually a good practice though, seriously. Like I said, don't just do it among yourself. Right? You can actually invite other teams as well. Okay. Even my so-called peer review, sometimes I invite purposely my friend from security. Sometimes they say, John, don't have time. I say, no, I need you for half an hour. You need to join my meeting because my team don't know much about security and they are trying to apply your security standard. So I really need your help to come and join the peer review so that you can actually give us feedback based on our understanding of your security standard that we need to comply. Can you please help my team? And usually when it's explained that way, the security guy say, yeah, okay, John, that means that you're going to have less security issue or less mistake. I say, yeah, please help me invest in that half an hour, help my team. So they will come. So you see, after that, my team benefit, they learn, now I know why they keep saying that we cannot do this. Now I know why we have to put encryption. Does that make sense? Because if not, if you don't have that, how is the team going to learn? You don't have a chance. Peer review, look at it as an opportunity to learn, either from among each other, from you as the boss or from your boss, or from another functional team. It's a very powerful tool. I even write you, I beg for help from the change advisory team. I said, when are you guys free? You said, John, what do you mean? I need 1 hour. 1 hour? Hey, don't have time. No, I need you to explain your process to my team because they are struggling with your process. They read through your documentation, they fill up your form. 9 out of 10 times they got rejected. I want to understand why it got rejected, how we can have less rejection, less work for you in the long run. Can you please help me for 1 hour? Explain to my team. Okay? I need your help. My team want to learn. Can you help me? And typically after that, people were scratching their head. Hey, why your team, all the requests all pass one, ours got reject? I said, you never engage people. You never do peer review with them. I put 10 requests, 11 passed. Yours 10 requests, 11 failed, reject. We spent that 1 hour, very critical. And also, I actually record the session. I put in the SharePoint portal. I asked my guys, here's the recording. Tolong baca balik, tolong tengok balik. Please, do me a favor. I don't want to receive complaints from the chairman or the secretary of chair advisory saying that our team got the most rejection. Malu lah ni. Make sense? Do that seriously, because half the time my team will say, John, I don't have time. But I said, this is something that we do every day, right? We have to learn. Let's take the opportunity. Let's learn from each other. Why are we not improving? Boss lah, you lah. You never give me time to learn. You always assign so many projects, so many tasks. I said, true. That's why I said we have peer review. Or even clinics. I also asked other teams for clinic. Like change management team, I said, can you do a clinic for my team? They said, what do you mean? We have a couple of projects use case on hand. We seriously have no idea how to do change management. Can you go by a case basis, like a use case study, to teach us how to apply change management technique? And actually they came. They were so happy. My team was like, boss, ada template. Sekarang baru aku tahu ada template. Dulu tak tanya dia tak bagi tahu. Now sekarang bagi full template pula. Aduh, senang lah dah. Easy. Make sense? Okay, that's why I said it's always good to have friends on the other side. Huh? Ask for a favor, say that I want to my team to learn. I want to give you less problem, especially security team. Every time I go there, I say, yeah, you again, what you want? Apa lagi nak? I said, no, I want to give you less problem, but you need to teach me. You need to teach my team, so I give you very, very little problem. How can I know your process better? How can I learn? I'm sure people are willing, right? If you ask in a very nice, open manner, right? They're not going to say no, right, Pak Robbie? Pergi lah, free lah. Of course lah, you book advance ahead of time lah. Don't like book like tomorrow, they don't free, right? You book like 2 weeks from now. I need this amount of time. This is the topic. My team is struggling on this. This is specific things that I need from you. Is there anything that I can get from your portal or any documentation, anything that I can help to, start first? Share that. Okay. If you're not doing this, like I said, some of these practices that the ITIL recommend actually works. I've done it before. I've done it before. Okay. Takes a bit of effort from our side as a leader, but like I said, we're doing this for the team. You want the team to do better. You want them to outperform anybody else. We need to do this. We need to help them. Okay, good. Right. Any question before we go for a break? Ada soalan lagi selanjutnya before we go for a break? Don't worry, we can ask later as well if you don't have now. But if you have, we can take another question. Ada lagi ke tak soalan? Any question? But it's good question, guys. Thanks for asking them, so I can share more examples. No? Okay. It's 2:30, I think, on your clock. Let's come back at 2:45. 15 minutes break. Boleh? So, cantik. I will see you guys in 15 minutes time. Okay? Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Have a quick break.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
We'll come back again. Bye. Hello, everybody. Are we back? Yes.
John.
Yes.
How was your break? Good. Bit of a stretching exercise. Okay. We don't have many more slides to go to finish. Yay! Then we need to do revision, huh? That's the toughest part. Okay, no worry, we will take you through. Right, let's continue the training. We don't have, like I said, not many slides. After we finish this, I would like to do a recap of module 4. And if we have time, let's see if we want to start the sample exam paper 1. If not, we can leave that for tomorrow morning. Okay, we've got plenty of time, and I will, like I said, I will share a lot of different techniques as well, how to prepare for your exam. Right, so just now we had a very good discussion on why I keep saying that I would encourage people to do peer review, because that is actually an opportunity for us to learn from each other. Okay, again, as a leader, be humble, because I always tell people I don't have all the answers. Okay, we will find the answer together as a team. And I always like to talk about the thought process, cara pemikiran, how I actually come to a certain conclusion. This is for the team to understand why we think in a certain or work in a certain way. I encourage the team also to actually come up with their own style of working as well as critical thinking. Okay, so give it a try. If you have not tried peer review, do not just do it within your team. You can actually encourage or invite subject matter experts from the other team as well. That is to enable your team to grow and to learn. Okay, don't make it too long. The session, like I said, at half an hour to 1 hour would be just nice. I typically run it for half an hour, very short and sweet. Okay, cool. Right, this was it, and it was on the improve. Now, where are the practices that are relevant for ITIL management, where peer review should be adopted, should be encouraged? Risk management is one. Okay, I'm sure you guys have a risk management team, right? So, you know anybody from risk management team? Yes, no, maybe. Carilah kawan.
Risk management is not in IT team, yeah. It's
But
a
you still
different
need to
division.
know somebody from risk management team, because the thing is the way they look at things, the way they classify the risk, we need to know.
Yeah.
We need to adopt their way of working. Okay, because they are working for the entire organization, right? So IT, it's a part of it. It is in our interest to support and to learn what is risk management. How can that be applied in our specific area? I'm sure there are many templates, there are methodologies, the way they classify, the way they do the review. Okay, in one of the organizations I used to work for, the risk management team at the holding level, the one that I engaged, they even share with me, John, this is how we do our monthly report. I'm like, huh? Risk management monthly report? Okay, so wait, where do you get your sources? How do you actually do it? So they actually show it to me. They said at the CEO, group CEO, or the president level, this is what they see. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't know you were looking at this. So there were various channels that they actually gathered information. They classify the risk. They put a recommendation for the leadership team. Okay, so it's actually quite an interesting thing to actually learn if you have friends in those different functional teams. Please, don't just focus on IT. Come on, I know you guys are very good at IT. Make friends with the other team. Jemputlah. Datang sembang sikit. Right. Thank them for your nasi padang lah. Don't go alone. Okay. No, seriously, this is important as as part of IT, we need to be supportive of the business. So risk management is actually a very, very key thing as well. Okay, cool. Summary. So we mentioned that the high velocity IT techniques are applicable, as they say, in many, many areas. And I hope during the last few days, you guys did ask specific questions. I was also able to share examples, how I actually do it as well, or apply that. Hopefully that will give you an idea that you might want to try it when you go back to work on Friday or even Monday when you start in that sense. Okay, but seriously, this is what high velocity IT is all about, is to adopt the best practices, is to encourage the team to actually do better. Okay, like I said, ITIL is a set of best practices. In order for the organization to move up to the next level, we need to actually do that with our team. Okay. Any question? We have completed the module. Stress, tak stress, simple, easy. Feedback? Ada, tak ada? No?
John,
Yes, Ibu.
can I ask about the ITL practice, but not actually mentioned in this slide?
Yep. What is it that you would like us to talk about?
It's about the practice of IT service continuity management. I want to ask about the difference between MAO and RTO. This
MAO and, sorry, I don't quite catch the question.
MAO, this one is as service continuity requirement components, maximum acceptable outage.
Right.
Yes, and there are other components also. RTO is the recovery time objective.
Okay.
By reading the definition, actually there are similarity in both of them. But can you please clarify about it?
Okay. The MAO, maximum acceptable outage, is actually from a business perspective. I repeat, pandangan dia dari business, segi business, it's nothing to do with IT. Okay, maximum acceptable outage. That means what the business can tahan, can tolerate, can accept if this function tak ada, tak wujud, cannot work. Okay, so let's give an example. If the ATM machine or BCA have an outage because of the ATM network is down, as a customer, I can't withdraw or check my balance at the ATM. What would be the maximum that I can tolerate? Ibu, is it 1 hour? Is it 1 day? Is it 1 week? That's a business question. Boleh faham? So the business needs to define that. Because if John, as a customer, he needs to take some rupiah so he can actually pay for the nasi padang that I just had with Pak Irfan and Pak Robi. I need to pay the bill, right? So what is acceptable? Business needs to define before the stakeholder or the customer starts complaining, start making noise, start moving to your competitor. So that is dari segi business, apa yang boleh diterima. So that is the indicator, MAO. Then you mentioned the other one, that's actually from an IT perspective, which is RTO is what? You mentioned recovery time
objective.
Yeah. So that one is actually how fast can we bring it back from an IT perspective. Typically, RTO comes into play when you have a major incident. For example, macam kena ransomware or your database is encrypted. So your whole system is down, for example, right? Then the business come to ask to you, what is your RTO? Berapa hari ya? Berapa jam? Berapa minggu? Does that make sense? So you need to look at it to say that, okay, worst case scenario, my whole system got encrypted by ransomware. If I reformat everything, I restore from backup hard disk, how much time?
Is it common that the
So there is, so before you go there, so there's actually two different pandangan, two different perspectives talking about a similar thing. It's not the same, it's similar. Okay, sorry, your question, Ibu?
Yeah. Is it common about if the value of the MAO and the RTO is the same, or usually it should be larger from the MAO side?
Actually, it's the same. Okay, usually the business will tell you, John, I can only tolerate say 4 hours. For your RTO, should be less than that. If your RTO is more than the MAO, we have a problem. Why? Because the business say, after 4 hours, aku dah tutup kedai lah, tak boleh buat business lah, balik lah. Because if you take 6 hours, the business say, hey, I'm already losing money for 4 hours. You need to take another extra 2 hours, 6 hours to recover. Close shop, declare public holiday. Make sense? Okay. Usually it's the same, but if you can do better, that is actually better for the business, because you cannot have an RTO that's longer than the MAO in practice, because business will suffer. Like I said, use the example of the ATM. If your ATM network goes down, if you ask the business, how much time can you tolerate? Have you guys asked that question before? If not, I think it's probably good to ask. Pak Arfan, ada kan soalan ni kan? Tanya kan kepada bisnes. Berapa jam dia boleh tanggung kan? Dia boleh terima kan? Nak tunggu kan? Ada kata from continuity management?
Should be there, sir, because we also need discussion about that with the risk management also, right? We came up with the number.
Yeah, please talk to risk management. Risk management, I'm sure, would have an acceptable number from a business perspective from the bank. Is it number of hours or number of days or number of weeks? Okay, these two metrics is very, very key. Try and make sure that the RTO from IT side, the recovery is faster than what the business expect. So the business said, John, okay lah, I can boleh tahan 4 jam lah. If you guys can do it under 4 hours, fantastic. If not, seriously, you need to start revising your process, your procedure of recovery, because it is not fast enough. And remember, I keep saying, what is the purpose of a business? The purpose of a business is to make a profit. So if the company is not making a profit, kita semua habis, tak ada kerja. We will be fired. As simple as that, because if the company doesn't make money, we're not entitled to earn a salary. Yes, Pak has actually shared an interesting diagram. Yep.
Yeah,
Thank you, Pak.
Yeah, for add information, I share the picture. Exactly. The MAOs, should be the RTO is less or equal than the MAO, because for the business, we can tolerate. It's mean when in our case, should be 4 hours. So we will have activity for the IT is less than 4 hours to bring up the business.
Yep. Okay. Now I want to explain a concept as well. I think I mentioned it early this morning. Is that back-to-back support tak jalan, does not work. Let me give you an example. Be very careful if you're using third-party vendors or partner for your back-to-back support, because you will breach this number. I promise you, you will breach this number. Let me explain. If it's 4 hours. Okay. Say there is an outage within BCA, is major incident, priority 1. Right? So what happened in priority 1? That means that you have a 4-hour restoration of the service. Right? Now, let's say, Ibu, you make a call, you say, John, service desk, right? Okay, major outage. And I, as a service desk, I take half an hour to record the incident before I escalate to the next level. As far as I concerned, as a business, the clock already started. Katakan pukul jam 9 Jakarta time, 9 o'clock, the thing happened. You take half an hour, that's 30 minutes, which is 9:30, before you escalate to the next level. Okay, now what happened with the next level? Next level need to look at it. They say, oh, this one, tak boleh, aku tak boleh buat, pass it to level 3, which is an external vendor. Now, they took about another 15 minutes, which is 9:45 Jakarta time. You call the level 3 supplier, Telecom ke, or your SAP partner ke, or Microsoft or whoever ke, it's 9:45. By the time they open the ticket, it's 10 o'clock Jakarta time. Now, when you have a back-to-back, you are saying that Mr. Third Party, Mr. Vendor, you have 4 hours to resolution. Now, as far as the vendor concerned, hey, John, you just call me at 9:45, right? I just opened the ticket at 10 o'clock, right? So what's going to happen? I have 4 hours to resolve. However, at the BCA service desk, the ticket was logged at 9 o'clock. You see the problem now? There is a mismatch already in terms of the back-to-back. So if I am the third party, I will take my time. 10 o'clock, clock start, right? For me, right? 2 o'clock, I resolve. I meet the SLA. But by 1 o'clock, BCA service desk would have breached the SLA. Your business will be screaming at you. Betul? So that's why I said back-to-back does not work. Be very careful. When does the clock start? When do you stop clock? When do you sambung the clock? This is very critical. I have got hit too many times with this kind of scenario. Okay, so when you take into consideration of this MAO, RTO, be very clear in the context. When does the clock start counting? Especially now, a lot of the IT services within the organization, we can't do. That is the reality. That is what is happening. We have to engage a third party. We have to engage a principal. We have to engage someone, an SME, to help us. So you have that back-to-back 4 hours because of the call logging process, because of the transfer of the ticket. If your definition on the time is the start clock and the stop clock, or the measurement is not clear, you will breach your SLA. You will breach this. Does that make sense? Okay. So sometimes I tell my third-party vendors, the principal like Microsoft, SAP, right? I said, I want to subscribe 3 hours resolution. They said, John, don't have 3 hours. No. I want 3 hours. Why? I said back-to-back doesn't work. Because if my service desk, if my level 2 takes half an hour, I'm breached already, even though if you meet. Correct? Business will be asking me, John, clock start at 9 o'clock, right? There was a major priority 1 incident, right? Our network went down, right? Our services went down, right? We can't do anything, right? So how now? This part is very tricky. In real life, it happens too many times. Contract, your SLA, how do you negotiate? Especially when you talk about the MAO and RTO. Does that make sense now? Why I say this morning, back to back, tak jalan. Because of this, I was the so-called principal. I actually have to pay penalty to my customer that time. I lose money. I have to pay back service credit. So that was a very good lesson for me. Okay, it was based on the contract value some more. Certain percentage. If I'm not mistaken, it was a 4% penalty of the total contract value. If I breach as a vendor, or should I say a principal, I have to bayar balik as a service credit to the customer. Yeah, my mind, This RTO, MAO thing, very good on paper. Please look at the practicality, how end to end it affects you, affects your business. Boleh faham? Okay, be careful as you route through the calls because it does take time. To be fair to the service desk, if it takes 15 minutes, it takes 15 minutes. I cannot argue with the service desk agent or the service desk manager because that is the standard process, right? To be fair, right? So how do I account for these 15 minutes? Do I get the business to agree that during the logging time, it's actually 9:15 the clock start or 9:30 the clock start, not 9 o'clock, or how? Your definition within BCA needs to be very clear. Your contract needs to be very clear. Faham? Okay. Ada soalan lagi? This is a very good question. I like it. At least I can share with you the mistake that I did last time.
About the RTO and MAO.
Come again?
About the RTO and MAO. You said that we need to define when is the starting point.
Yes, start clock and the
But
stop
the
clock.
perspective from business and IT is different, right? From the starting point, even from the starting point. Usually, what is the example that applied in the other business when they define this?
You need to co-create, like ITIL in this training course is saying that you need to co-create. You need to sit down and reach a middle ground agreement. You need to sign that contract with the business. Because if not in the reporting, you will show gaduh. You will show fight. Sit down with the business, discuss this openly with the example that I've given you and say, okay, if this happened, I mean, you suffer, we also suffer. So how can we address this? How can we measure this correctly? What is acceptable to both sides? You need to have that discussion. I really can't help you too much on that one, unfortunately, unless you invite me to sit at the table to help you to negotiate on both sides. But you understand what I'm saying? You actually have to actually start that discussion with the business. Because if you just put that diagram, you don't define it as a use case or an example, salah faham, dia salah interpret, gaduh pula, gila-gila nanti. Confirm, it will show fight one. It's not going to be very pleasant. So I will encourage to openly discuss to say, hey, I think we see a problem here today. How can we actually be a little bit clear to define this? what is acceptable to both sides. Because we still want BCA to be up and running, right? We still want to serve our BCA customer, right? So how can we do this better? We know when we log a ticket, it's going to take half an hour, for example, to escalate to the vendor, right? So how do we address this? Do we start the clock after the call reached the vendor for priority one major incident, or how? Is that acceptable to the business? I don't have the answer. I need your help to ask the business unit in BCA. Is that okay, Ibu?
Yes.
So I need your help to actually be clear, because if not, if you don't have the answer, when this thing happens, trust me, everybody gaduh, point finger pointing. Even SLM pun, aduh, pening. How come we didn't define this properly? Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good question, by the way. Please have it defined in your service level management. And a lot of time, please understand, when we talk about service level management, right? It is our IT measurement matrix. You also need to ask yourself or ask the business, does this make sense to you? I'll give you an example. One of my team always say, boss, we meet SLA 90%. But I said, yeah, but not good enough. Why? You remember last month we have an outage at 10 o'clock, month end. Finance director was calling me saying that the server or the service was down, but we still meet SLA. So is this good customer service? Boss, but we passed, right? SLA green. I say, yeah, but is this good customer service? Finance director cannot close the month end report. Our service went down at 10 o'clock in the morning. CEO was asking, where is the report? So macam mana nak jawab? Did we meet SLA? Yes. Is it a good SLA? I would say no. It doesn't make sense to the business. So I said, rightfully, we have to revise the SLA to say that during business hour, there should not be any outage. Oh, boss, tak boleh. Can. What do we need to make it happen so that there's no outage during business hour? What do we need to put in place? That would be the correct question. But if we keep saying that, oh, SLA is green, okay, wah. I said, no. I tell my team, no, not acceptable. Finance director was screaming at 10 o'clock. She cannot run her month-end closing. It impact the business. So you have got to start thinking, right? A lot of this stuff that we do in IT, right? That's why the core creation part was emphasized on a lot of the slides. We actually have to engage the business. We have to talk to the business to say that cara kita buat begini bermakna ke tak? Is it helping you? If you say no, okay, acceptable. What do we need to do to meet that new expectation? So in that case, when I mentioned that we need to actually make sure there's no outage during business hour, so my team actually came out to say, hey, boss, we need all these things. These are the laundry list of items we need to have in place. So I said, okay, let's present it to the business. Boleh terima ke tak? I need extra budget. That discussion pening a bit lah. But nonetheless, it was a good dialogue because we explained to them, we want to do better. We want to support the business. But we need a little bit more money to make sure all these things are in place so that you do not experience outage during the office hours. You understand the reason why I keep saying that the dialogue is important? Boleh faham? Can understand why? Okay, so it's not to say that I purposely want to ask for budget. It's because there was an incident that really impacted the business. And I was looking at, okay, why did this happen? Is there something we did not do right? Is there something that we can make it better? What is it that we can do? That was the triggering of that discussion. Because meeting SLA green, not necessarily business will be happy with us. I guarantee you that. I have stand in front of the business too many times. I have business director shouting at me, screaming at me, want to throw a chair at me. Okay. So you really need to understand why the business is angry with me. Boleh faham? Okay. So meeting SLA doesn't mean anything. That's why I keep telling my team, hey, telling me you pass green, hello. Not necessarily makes sense. Boleh faham? Great. Any other question, guys? That was a very good one. Ada lagi soalan? No? Yes? Maybe? Come on, guys. If not, we will do revision. Jeng, jeng, jeng. Where were we? We need to go back to slide number 162. Ini ada question nggak tak? Soalan yang selanjutnya. Yes? No? Okay, let me share my slide again. Can you see the slide? Let's do revision, module 4. Okay? Right, so this module specifically talk about what? Techniques, okay? Techniques that we can consider to apply. Again, please remember, ITIL is best practice. They don't mandate, they don't require us to use all of it. They just suggest that if you want to do all this, it will help you to achieve this. Okay, it's not wajib, must have kind of thing. But if we want to embrace ITIL, we want to be high velocity, these are the things that we must be put into practice. Okay, just want to be clear on that. Right, so for this module, we are focusing on the valuable investment. How do we classify them? How do we do fast development? How do we focus on resilient operation? How do we co-create the value? How do we assure conformance, which is to be compliant? Okay, so this module talk about all these sections itself. Right, very quickly, this is it. Valuable investment, fast development, resilient, coherent. It's the same slide. Right. When we talk about valuable investment, do you still remember prioritization technique? Minimum viable product, product or service ownership, A/B testing. Cost of delay. Anybody can explain what's cost of delay? How do we get cost of delay? Macam mana nak calculate cost of delay? Do you remember? Yes, no? Come on, revision. Give it a try, guys. Don't be shy. How do we do cost of delay? How can I get that number? Cost of delay comes from the original or the initial business case justification when we request for budget, when we request for resource to invest in doing a certain project or initiative with the promise on return on investment. Kalau lambat, the return on investment will be delayed. That's how you calculate the cost of delay. Okay, very, very simple. This needs to be taken into consideration, especially when we talk about prioritization. Bosses, our leadership team always ask, John, what is my ROI? You're asking for $1 million US. You ask me to invest in this. So when can I see the return? How can it save me more money by investing $1 million US in this initiative? Kena jawab, right? When can I see break even, right? How can I make the cost saving, right? Cost of delay is another one that people will look at. Okay, same with buy, hold, sell, and the other techniques as well. It's mentioned there, net present value lah, tech ranking lah. Okay, cool. Next one, heat map. When we say heat map, how to read this? We say which is the one that is maroon red, yang bright maroon red, which is plan and improve. This is the one that we should apply prioritization technique. Okay, so tying back to the service value chain. So that's why in a lot of the slides following this, they have this slide to explain. Management practices. Remember, there are 34 of them. And on the table there, the one that is listed high impact on the right-hand side, those are the management practices element you should pay attention to, that we need to apply prioritization technique. Okay, I'll let you read that. Like I said, there's only a few of them, not many. Right. Minimum viable product, MVP. Anybody can tell me why we do MVP? Yes, no, maybe?
Market, sir.
Test the market. Test the water. Boleh terima ke tak? Suka tak suka this feature. What is the other one apart from MVP I mentioned, which is not in the slide?
Lovable product. Minimum lovable.
Yeah, why do we do lovable product? Why? Anybody know why? Why do we do minimum lovable product? Mengapa nak promote minimum lovable product? It's
People
because
like our product, right?
yeah, so it's a set of feature instead of just one feature. When you do MVP, you have maybe 3 to 5 feature put together in a package, and you say this is my minimum level product. So when people use that, hey John, this is fantastic. I love it. Hey, I'm going to recommend all my friends to use this. Okay. Now there's a pros and cons. Minimum viable product is very, very short investment in terms of development time. Minimum level product is a little bit longer. So depending on the business appetite, the business budget, dia boleh belajarwan a little bit more. I always recommend do a minimum lovable product. Okay, just so that you know, if you work with people, like I said, with AWS, Google, or Microsoft, they always love to talk about minimum lovable product. Or actually, I say, especially AWS people. Because the last few years that I've been working with them, they always tell me, John, don't do minimum viable. Let's do minimum lovable. I said, okay, then we have to justify to my boss, minta lagi budget. Okay, then we have to decide, okay, what to put inside the feature to make people love our product. Okay, cool. Excellent. That's in design and transition. Okay, please remember the service value chain. The table, this one not so important, but you still need to actually have a quick read, eyeball. Like I said, the actual table, you can actually get it from the SharePoint portal with the clearer picture. Happy for you to copy and paste. It's for you to use. Product or service ownership. What did we say about the product owner?
Maximizing the value of product.
Bingo. Thank you, Pak. Always must maximize the value. Okay. The product manager is the one who holds the ultimate decision and authority to say that jalan, tak jalan. Feature ni nak, tak nak. Want or don't want. Product owner. Not your CEO, not your director of internet banking, unless he or she is the product owner. This is based on the Scrum framework. Okay. Please remember that. Maximize the value of the product. Very, very important. There are 2 more groups of people in Scrum. Do you guys remember when we talk about product owner? What are the other 2 groups of people? There are actually 3. So, Scrum Master, satu lagi. Last one.
Developer team.
Development team, which includes the programmer and the operation people, which is DevOps. We've been talking about it. Excellent. You guys remember, I think can pass. Don't need to do exam already. Right, heat map. Okay. In almost every area, we need to have product management or service ownership in that sense. Okay, so when we say product or service, right? Product in this case is a digital product. Not necessarily a physical product, can be a digital product. Service ownership is the kind of service that we provide. Okay. So where do you put all this product or service in where? Any idea? Where can people find a listing of this? Your service catalog. Service catalog in your service desk. So if you call the service desk, I want to do this. So service desk agent will look at it. John, tak ada lah, kita tak provide this one. That will be a service request. Huh? Why? Oh, we don't order food. We are not Grab food. Sorry. We're service desk for BCA. Salah nombor. Okay. So be clear. The service catalog will tell the customer or the internal users what do we provide. Okay, quick one. Here is the table of the practices. Again, like I said, I'm not going to read that. Just make sure you have an idea what they are. A/B testing. What was the example I gave you? Remember? One was 8-point size. One was 12-point. This was for my board of directors. Same table, same graphics, but it's just the size of a difference. So I wanted them to choose which one do they prefer. Okay, so that's one way. The second slide here talks about if we do a web page or a web portal, we have a different graphics design or a different layout. We want to test to see which one our stakeholder or our customer prefer. Okay, and I also mentioned that to do this, you can actually just publish it. You can actually track it using things like Google Analytics. You can see how much time people spend on the new version of the website. Do they spend on clicking, exploring, or they just like going, like that? Oh, don't like. Okay. Close off. You can actually see those metrics that have been tracked. Okay. So Google Analytics, it's actually a good way to combine with the A/B testing. Again, this is not in the slides. I'm just telling you from experience how we do A/B testing. Typically, you will share it or demonstrate that to a group of internal stakeholders. Okay, you show it to them. Boss, I've got 2 versions. Which one do you prefer? And the only thing that's different, like I said, could be just the font size or it could be the layout. It could be the way you redesign the web page or the feature. Okay, cool. Right, heat map. Paint, view, and improve. Okay. Table again. Okay. Please read the details of the table. Things like portfolio management, risk management, service design, architectural management. If you're not clear, please ask me question. We still have time tomorrow. So if tonight, if you're doing revision and you read the England or the English, apa ni tak faham, best ask John tomorrow. Okay? Boleh? Okay? It's an English test, like I keep saying. A lot of the ITIL stuff, English test. Okay, so if you're not sure, please ask so we can give example, help everybody to learn together. Okay? Right, high velocity IT, fast development. Right. Okay, how do we call fast? What are the techniques that we can use? Okay, so when we talk about fast development in this slide, I'm not going to read it. It actually relates to the Scrum methodology. That means that the way we develop things, the way we do things must be broken down into a small size, which is the size of the backlog. Start from that. Okay, make sure it is manageable. Make sure it fits into the time frame or the time box. We call it the sprint, which is the definition of the time that we do that development. So typically for Scrum, the sprint is between 2 to 4 weeks. Again, this is not determined by me or the company. It's determined by you as part of that development team. You guys need to decide, do we go for 2 weeks Do we go for 4 weeks or do we go for 3 weeks? You guys need to decide that. And that size has to be broken down that you guys can actually do it. Don't spill over to the next sprint if possible. Okay? Size of change, the frequency of change, which is your sprint. Tiap 2 minggu release, tiap 2 minggu release, if that's your sprint. Okay? Your quality. Remember, we keep saying that do not skip any test. If we need to do unit tests, we need to do integration tests, we need to do regressional tests, we need to do security tests. Semua wajib kena ada. Don't shortcut, because if you release something that is bad, what's going to happen? It's going to impact our company's reputation. You have to do rework, more costs, more time. Not a good idea. Okay, cool. Now, these are the suggestions to help us to do things fast. Infrastructure as a code, loosely coupled information system architecture, review or retrospective, continual business analysis, continuous integration, continuous delivery, right? Continuous testing, Kanban. So I think we mentioned that. Infrastructure as a code basically is go to the cloud. So if you need to do development, you do testing, you nak cepat, you nak fast, cloud. Okay? This is where it will impact. When you go for a design transition, when you do obtain a build or you do a deliver support, you can apply that. Okay? Again, this is just mentioning where infrastructure as a code will apply. Loosely coupled information system architecture. This one, we talk about two concepts, which is in the next slide. Microservices that we can subscribe, or we containerize a specific function in itself. Okay? Like I said, what this means, we no longer have the physical item. It's all software defined. Okay, dulu masuk server room boleh nampak the proxy punya server punya kotak, the box itself. Now, if you go to the cloud, it's software defined. You need to subscribe. You need to put that in place. You need to enable it and pay for it. Okay, as simple as that. Okay, instead of waiting for procurement, tiga minggu, barang baru sampai, baru pasang, baru nak pakai. Okay, this is very fast if you use infrastructure as a service. But understand these two concepts. Okay,
John.
Also, yes, question.
Yeah, just curious about the exam, because a lot of definition.
Yes.
Is the exam is related like what is the microservices? What is the centralized, containerized, or
definition? There will be definition question like that.
Definition.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, there will be definition. So tomorrow we will do the sample exam question. As I mentioned, there are 40 questions. I would expect at least 12 to 15 questions, definition question. So if you say, John, if I memorize or I understand all definition, how much marks do I get? You probably get 15 out of 40.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, don't worry. Tomorrow, we will go through the syllabus as well. I will explain to you where the key areas are. Okay, that's why during the last few days, I've been using this thing called Ting Ting exam slide. Ting, please write down. Ting Ting, please remember this is the definition, because unfortunately you need to know this. Okay, like for people like me who have been using cloud, this is like okay lah, dah tahu lah, dah faham lah.
I think I miss a lot of Ting Ting.
Oh, you miss a lot of Ting Ting. Then you need to download all the MP4, which is the video recording. You need to rewatch lah, Pak. Unfortunately, sorry.
Okay.
You need to watch that because who was it? Was it Pak Robi or who was it? I can't remember. Pak Irfan was asking me, hey, John, you forgot to do ting ting yesterday. I said, yeah, I promise. That's why this morning I keep doing ting ting until Pak Afan said, aduh, banyak gila. No, seriously, any slide that you see a definition, it's important. Okay? Because for ITIL, right, they want you to understand the definition and the concept. Unfortunately, I cannot run away. That's how the exam is structured. Okay, now that's at least 15 questions. Now the rest of it, they will ask kind of like a teka-teki, kind of a guessing kind of thing. I will explain with the question tomorrow how you can perhaps use what I call the elimination technique, get close to the answer. Okay, passing the exam, let me just talk about that. Passing the exam actually is not that difficult. Okay, like I said, I have participants who call me up, they complain, John, I'm not very happy with you. Why? I only got 85 marks. You very bad trainer. Why you only make me get 85 marks? I have received complaint like that previously. Sorry. So I said, your objective is to pass, right? He said, yeah, but I only got 85 marks. Can I receipt? Boleh, bayar je, tak ada hal. Okay? Don't worry, we will discuss that tomorrow. Okay? But seriously, definition, unfortunately, it's key. Okay? But if you understand what is the microservice, what is the containerization, shouldn't be a problem. The only thing is, I keep saying, this is an English exam. Okay? So please baca, please faham in the slide deck the keywords that they use.
Is the definition must be the same by words like in the slide, or we can modify it?
Almost. If they modify it, you must understand it to be correct, because there are questions they will give two answers that are almost the same. So I will explain tomorrow. You need to pick the one which is a bit more complete or is a better answer, Ibu. I will show you tomorrow when we go to the sample question. They are tricky. I call it the trick question. So when we have those questions, if you are not sure, let's say there are 4 answers to give you, right? You have already eliminated. That means you already know 2 jawapan tu memang salah, tinggal 2 sahaja, nak pilih 1, it means you have a 50-50 chance. I will teach you the technique tomorrow, how to read the sentence, how to catch the keyword, how to say that, oh, I think it was A, but now that I read it like 2-3 times, right? It should be B. Why it should be B? We will discuss that tomorrow. Okay, so that's why tomorrow, like I said, I wanted to start the sample exam, give you a flavor so that you understand, oh, this is how I need to prepare. Because if not, I'm sure most of us have finished university and college long time ago. I've not done an exam for a long time. So I need to explain this to you. Okay, don't worry, we will get there tomorrow. I promise you.
John?
Yes, sir.
The option is only 50%, no call friend?
Unfortunately, no, you cannot call me.
No, okay.
Oh, by the way,
another option, right?
No, you cannot call me. So the best that I can do is to get you a 50-50 chance. Now, typically, from experience, 70% of the time, if you are when you have 2 answers and you feel the answer B is correct and you've selected B and you follow the rule, remember I said no more than X number of minutes per question, and you have some time, right? So you review balik, right? You tengok balik, right? You said, I think I want to change it from B to A. Don't change. There is a high chance it will be wrong. There's another technique. Only for those questions you did not choose. I'm not sure. I know C and D is wrong. I'm not sure A and B. I cannot decide now. John said don't spend more than 2 minutes, right? I already spent 1 minute and 50 seconds on this, right? The upper, we skip, we come back at the end, pick one. Then can. But if you already pick one, and then you come back and change it, alamak, problem. Okay, I will show you those questions. It's quite tricky, so I need to explain this experience to you because I've actually experienced it. Some of my participants or students, they come back and tell me, yeah, I should have listened to you. Don't change. I change, right? It's wrong. Okay. We definitely we will go through that. Don't worry. You can't call a friend. That's number one. Number two, unfortunately, I cannot supervise your exam. I'm an authorized supervisor, but I cannot supervise because I conducted this training for you guys. Okay, so it has to be my colleague, Angie. She will need to supervise for you. I can come in and say hi at the very beginning before you start the exam. Okay, I did that last week for another group of students or participant of mine. So I said, hey, I'm going to say hi. I even tell them if you want to do revision the day before, please let me know. I will try and clear my schedule to help you. So I think out of 8 people who sit for the exam last week, this is another different training course, design thinking. 7 of them passed. 1 didn't pass. I was a bit sad with him. I asked him why he didn't pass. I didn't do revision. I'm saying, hey, I keep telling you do revision. I will come out with a study plan for you, right? No, John, I just didn't do revision. So I said, okay. Do you want to resit? Let's help you to do the resit. Okay? Don't worry. We'll talk more. Okay? You're good? Fun? Okay, yeah? Yes, Ibu.
The exam will be held in on-site or will be held
Okay,
online?
the exam will be held virtually. Okay, let me talk a little bit more exam since you guys are so interested about the exam, right? Okay. I think you guys are stressed now. I will finish the revision tomorrow. Let me stop sharing the slide. Let's talk about the exam. Okay, since you're interested. Okay, the exam will be done virtually, Ibu. Okay, now one thing you need to do, you can actually take it at home or you can take it in the office. Okay, but there's a couple of prerequisite or condition. Number 1, no background. You see I am using a background now, right? Background cannot. You actually have to take off the background. Okay, the supervisor, or we call them the invigilator, which is my colleague Angie, needs to see your surrounding. Camera must be on. That's the first thing. So if you are at home, you need to make sure the room is clear. Let me show you my room. Don't be surprised. I'm working in my children's playroom. Very messy at home. Okay, so I'm going to turn off, then you will see. Ta-da!
Wow.
This one, tak boleh, tak pas, cannot. If your room is as messy as mine, cannot. Ibu, you need to clean this up. Okay? Now, you probably think, okay, John, I don't want to clean the room. Can I go to office? Yes, you can. Book a meeting room. Satu orang, jangan panggil Pak Irfan duduk sebelah-sebelah. No, not allow. You allow dia out. Sorry, Pak Irfan, you sebelah bilik. Don't come and sit next to me. Tak boleh ya, Ibu. I know you're good friend with Pak Irfan. He's a very nice guy, but cannot. Sorry.
We already run the agriculture, We're not going to do that.
Okay. But seriously, I need to explain this to you. You need to actually get a room. Okay? Now, what's happening is, like I said, the camera has to be on and you need to take your laptop to show your table. Table has to be clean. Paper cannot, pen, all this empty. Okay? If you have a piece of paper, it has to be blank, one piece only, right? Table underneath, You have to show underneath, the side, the door, the window, everything must be clear. Okay, so if you're like me, you have a very messy room, maybe going to office is actually a good idea, Ibu. Okay, so when you book the meeting room, normally I would suggest you also put a notice at the meeting room. Jangan kacau, jangan ganggu, go away. Serious. If anybody open the door, you will be in trouble because it's recorded. The invigilator might ask you, Ibu, who is that? Is that Pak Irfan is coming to see you again? Kacau kacau, or is he giving you the answer? Cannot, huh? Okay, so please make sure that room is clear for you. Now, of course, if all of you, say 4 or 5 of you in the office, you book like 3, 4 meeting room, you do it at the same time, that is allowed. I repeat, 3, 4 of you book different meeting rooms, do it at the same time, you are allowed. But each person must be in one room only. Okay, now on that day, of course, we will ask you to log into the portal with your ID, which is your email ID, and they will ask you for your identity card, your IC, or your driver's license, or your passport. You need to show it to the camera to say that this is me. I am taking the exam. That's the identification that you need. Now, once you are ready, then the teachers will say, Ibu, Trista, you are good to go. So your clock starts now, 90 minutes. So next could be Pak Irfan. He is 5 minutes later. His clock will start after that. Okay, so it's actually quite a simple process. But like I said, there are things to consider. Now, there are also times when I said, don't do it in the office. Let me explain. If there are firewall block, security block, that you cannot reach the site for whatever reason that BCA security will put in, it's probably not recommended to do it in the office. Okay. Now, of course, people say, if I do it at home, I need to clean the room. Yeah, that's another problem. But if you do at home, if there is an internet disconnect, you can always connect back. That's not an issue as well. But in the office, sometimes because there are proxy, there are firewall rules that will block you going to the exam portal. So please be careful on this one. Again, don't worry. We will normally tell you once you say, John, I'm going to do it, say this date, right? We will send you the information. You can actually test. Let's say you want to do it in office, right? You can test, okay, is my connectivity okay from the office? Is there any block? Normally, it's not just when you book, on one day before, I will also recommend you to test that as well. Just in case security team did not implement anything funny again. And they didn't tell you. It happens, right? Okay. That's it. Any question on the exam?
John, since the exam is online, if
yes, it's online,
suddenly our network connection drop, what happened?
If the network connection drop because you will be joining a team session like this, you need to message the invigilator, which is Angeline, my colleague in this case, to tell her that your line has dropped. And she will give you back the link in the chat. She will actually ask you to log back in again.
So we can still continue, or we have to?
You can still continue. If something happened, you need to communicate and call her or WhatsApp her to say that, Angie, I'm seriously having problem. I cannot continue. Then we may have to postpone it for another day.
Okay.
Okay. So when you actually come on for, let's say 4 of you or 5 of you, right, for that session, right, in the chat, please don't forget to share your mobile number to Angie, my colleague who is actually invigilating for the exam. In case anything happen, you can reach out to her or she can call you and we can understand what's the issue. Because this does happen. Good question, Eddie. Okay, don't worry. We will take care of you. Ada lagi soalan pasal exam? Cheng,
Sorry,
cheng, cheng. Sorry, no
regard-
call a friend. Yes,
Regarding the
Kim Ping.
location,
Yeah, location.
what if we do the exam in the office area but outside the meeting room? Like,
Cannot have
No?
people walking around. No. No.
okay,
Don't even ask me to print a T-shirt with all the answer and then I walk around in front of you. No. I can't do that. Not allowed.
It's a good idea, actually.
I know. A lot of
Yes,
people
yes.
ask me, John, can you come to my office? I say, what you mean to do? Come lah, I buy you breakfast, nasi lemak. You know, I give you a white T-shirt. I'll write the answer. You just walk around in front of the office. I say, you crazy. After they recorded me, I will be in trouble. No, cannot. Sorry.
John,
Cannot.
Kim Ping here.
Yes, hi, Kim Ping.
Sorry, just now I sat out a bit because
It's okay.
I have another another workshop. Sorry.
Yep, it's okay. No problem. You can have the playback. I understand.
One thing, I'm not sure about agenda tomorrow. I heard like the agenda tomorrow will be more on the questions, right? Where we're doing the exam questions.
Yeah, we are going to do the revision because just now I think I got diverted. We'll do a full revision of the whole module. So
Okay.
tomorrow morning I will because we've completed all the modules already. So I'm going to do a recap. Again, I'm going to do all that exam slide kind of thing so that you actually write down if you're going to do revision. And I will talk about, like I said, the exam which I've actually spoke about now. I will actually spend more time on the exam technique as we go through the sample exam paper 1. If we have time, we will go to sample paper 2. If not, I am going to skip that for you guys to take it as a practice exam for your personal thing.
The plan sounds good. Yeah, because I have one question actually I want to ask just now when you were teaching. It's more about a post-mortem, so I'm not sure if I should ask now or
No, you can ask now.
discuss tomorrow.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't want to
Ask
hold
now.
back the audience here.
Everybody okay
No.
for Kim Peng to
No,
ask
it's
the
okay.
question?
It's
Am I
okay.
putting
Yeah.
back? Then we can discuss tomorrow. All right. It's about the blameless post-mortems, one of your slide. Yeah, so I saw you mentioned about some incidents, some points about incidents. So that's why I just want to learn from you here. So in case like the post-mortem, I agree like we shouldn't blame anyone, but we're more looking for the root cause analysis. But what if like, because I'm the SDM, right? So I'm just thinking, what if like the vendor or the partner, they are not able to provide I would say the correct root cause. Like let's say like we have an incident like system down. So normally we will ask for the chronological events, like what happens during the hours. Like let's say the system was down for 6 hours. So because the vendors and partners, they are fully managed, they are fully managed the systems. It's like they manage our systems 24 per hours, but sometimes we wouldn't there. So that's why we want to understand like what happens like during that few hours. They have to tell us like when the issues happened. So at this hour, when issue happened, what do they do? What did they do? So did they call did they get the correct person to solve the problem? Things like that. So we will review that. So sometimes we found that they are not really provide the correct root cause and chronological event. So we have in doubt, and then this happened like a few times. So but
how
the question
do you
is that
address this kind of situation, right?
Yeah, how can we escalate that? So I'm not sure if you encountered that the kind of like situation before. They kind of like do not provide the honest feedback, I would say.
Okay. I get into this kind of calls a lot in my previous job, even on Saturday, Sunday, when the standby team cannot fix the issue, when they've already spent like 4 or 6 hours and they are going in a circle. Guess whose number they're going to call? Me. Okay, so when I get into those kind of call, first thing I ask is who is on the call. Okay, First, you must establish who is on the call. Now, in your case, because the vendor is the one that's doing it, I will ask for one thing and one thing only. During the Teams call like this, is it recorded? Share with me the recording. I want to watch. When the engineer do troubleshooting, I don't care whether it's from the vendor or the principal, say Cisco or SAP. I always ask the engineer, please share screen, number one. Number two, please explain and talk me through what you are doing now. Okay, and thirdly, why are we doing this? So I'll give you an example, right? We have a network down. We suspect it's a Cisco router, one of the rules or whatever firewall, the thing that we didn't apply or the setting was wrong. So we get the Cisco engineer online. I will tell the Cisco engineer, please share screen. Log into console. Okay, what are you doing now? Okay, I'm listing the configuration. What does that mean? Or memory is this much, or here is the setting. Okay, what does this setting mean? Where can I find the setting reference? I will ask those kind of silly questions, I call it. So anytime when they do troubleshooting, trust me, you do not want me on the call because I will be very detailed.
Okay, I know that the
Okay,
one you shared, actually we did that. We have standard SOP when it comes to major incidents. So we do ask for the recorded sessions, and then we ask for the chronological events, like they have to write down everything's happened within that hours, specifically till minutes, hours and minutes. We have to provide that. But we do encounter a few cases that we ask for recorded, but a few cases that they miss that. And then
that's why if they miss that, it has to go back to your contract. What is your penalty? What is your recourse action? Because if I am the service delivery manager, I don't care it's major incident or not. The moment it goes to a priority 2 and above, it has to be recorded, not just priority 1. Non-negotiable.
So
if they can't provide it, I will
options,
not sign off.
So your options will always go to legal.
Oh yes, I have a lot of friends in legal, trust me.
Apart from legal, will there be other advisors? How will you escalate internally to TCS? Oh, sorry, I shouldn't mention the vendor names.
It's okay.
How
it's
do
okay.
you
We know who
escalate
TCS is.
within? how do you like escalate within like the partner itself?
How do I escalate with the partners? Okay.
Yeah.
Normally, I don't just have a relationship with the working level. I have a relationship with the management level. Okay. You need to establish that as an STM. That's why I said you need to get involved. Okay. Now, when I was managing some of the stuff, I even have the mobile number of the country manager.
We do have.
I will call them. Yeah.
We did call. They just apologize.
I don't want apologies. I will tell them exactly what I need. I will tell them what I need to fix the problem. And I need them to commit to actually provide that to fix it. Okay. I even ask them to join the call. Okay. Because I will tell them, you guys are not working. Sorry, I've already spent 6 hours on this call. It's not getting anywhere. I'm not getting the resource. I already breached my MAO with my business. How would you like to do this now? Make sure you have relationship. When I manage regional, I even have access to the regional boss or the global bosses. Okay. I'll give you an example. When I was in Dell, we used to have a partner. I'm not going to mention name. One time, the engineer was late. How late is late? He was supposed to do an installation of a desktop. Customer called me at 3 o'clock. John, mana orang tak nampak? I said, apa orang? John, today is actually my site. Remember, I have got 3 PC. So I check. Oh yeah, sorry, boss. Told the customer, sorry, your engineer tak sampai lagi. So I called the engineer. You know what the engineer told me? Sorry lah, John. Traffic jam. I'm like, hey, hello. What time it is? what traffic jam is talking about? I got very angry. I called the Malaysian office. I escalate to the Singapore regional office. I wrote an email to the US office. Call the local office. You need to come and see me tomorrow 9:30 in my office. I need you to explain to me. And that I said, okay, if you want to argue it's not in the contract, your next job, I'm going to put it into the purchase order that your engineer must arrive at 8 o'clock sharp and must call me by 8:05 and must be confirmed by the customer. If this thing doesn't happen, guess what? I will issue a penalty. Straight away, the partner shut up. Straight away, things got in place. You have to be very strict. I'll tell you.
Okay, all right.
Okay, start with the contract. Seriously, if you don't know the contract, you can't execute. You're not protecting your company. I'm sorry to tell you this. You're not taking care of the business.
I think it's
Okay.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. Thank you, John.
It makes sense, huh? Okay. But don't worry. Like I said, it will take time. Don't be too hard on them, lah. Of course, what I'm showing you is actually the compressed version. I asked the engineer, why is it traffic jam? Why are you late? I have other jobs. I said, look, this was pre-planned, right? Was this communicated to you? Nobody told me. Well, I tell the local office off lah. I said, why is it that you assign this guy? You never tell him that this is supposed to be there at 9 o'clock. Why didn't you call the customer if you're going to be late? You can tell the customer, sorry, Mr. Customer, I'm going to be a little bit late. I can't come to your place at 9 o'clock. Can I perhaps come after 3 o'clock? And if the customer is okay, I'm okay with it. I'm reasonable, right? But you didn't call the customer. The customer called me to ask, where are your engineers? And so I got very upset with the partner. Right? So it's all about common courtesy. So you have to explain this skimping to your partner or your vendor to say, look, I'm willing to close one eye if you are being kind to my business. But if you are trying to play hardball, I'm going to bring my legal in. I'm going to bring my procurement in. Unfortunately, it's going to be not a pleasant scene. Does that make sense? Yep. Of course, be reasonable. Don't go bang people.
Yeah, sure.
That's not the intention. The intention is we need to protect the business. That's what I'm saying. And of course, when I do this, I also tell the business, I said, look, boss, I need to do this because I need to protect our reputation. Make sense? Okay. Now, going back, so I just mentioned just now, you must show who is on the call. Make sure they document it. Make sure they provide you the recording. Also, like I said, even all the screenshot that they share, right? You also need to check. Ask them, why are you doing this configuration change? Show me the link in your documentation that you are allowed to do this. The reason why I ask that is because sometimes the engineer will make a change, will cause a bigger problem. Okay, so always validate that back with the internal documentation. Always like to do that. Because I said, if I'm going to present it to my business and they say, you make this change, it costs more downtime, I will be in trouble, right? Okay, guys, I apologize. It's time already for us to take a break. Any other question? Can we keep it for tomorrow morning? We will do the revision and then we will do the sample exam question. We will also talk about one very key thing, your study plan. How to study for the exam. There is a formula.
What is the answer?
I can't give you the answer. But you cannot call a friend.